Welcome to the Sound of Movement podcast. Today we are talking about balanced training and what athletes can teach us. We've got Nalesh here, professional physio for an AFL team in Australia, and we're going to be talking about how athletes training differs from average Joe. Welcome to the show, everyone. It is time to rock. Today I'm joined by Rich and Nalesh, and my name is Rad. We are the founders and owners of Unity Gym, where we turn driven people into athletes. Today's show is brought to you by the UMS, the Unified Movement System. You can get online coaching from us daily, plus our revolutionary Foundations program and Progressions program, where we teach you how to customize your own programs and workouts based on your body's needs. You can grab a link in the description of this podcast or video, wherever you're watching or listening to it, for a free month trial. Don't delay, jump on now. And if you're listening live, this is the last day that you can get our amazing injury rehab programs on sale. There's still about 8 hours left for our flash sale. And lastly, before we start, a shout out to our YouTube followers for watching the replay. Please like and subscribe to our channel if you like this stuff, and also to our podcast listeners. Give us a subscription as well. How are you today, Nalesh?
Going on, mate. How are you?
I'm great. Now that I've got that mouthful out of the way. So yeah, look, it's a good topic today. We were talking, Nalesh and I were talking before the show. Nalesh said, "What are we going to talk about today?" And I said, look, the topic of today's discussion is all about balanced workouts. We at Unity Gym and in the UMS, we teach people how to balance strength, flexibility, and fitness. But what we notice with the punter out there, the average punter on the street, going it on their own, is that they don't balance their workouts. So people basically run towards what they love more of, meaning, people that are usually good at yoga, they do more yoga when what they really need to be doing is some strength training to balance out all that flexibility. Or runners that are already really good at running, that are running, bloody sub, 4-minute kilometers, they do more running, when they've got so little muscle on them that they can probably blow over in a strong wind. And what I wanted to know is, how does that differ with professional athletes? If you don't know, Nalesh has been a physiotherapist for the GWS Giants, which is an AFL team, Australian Football League, a very, very, very athletic sport. If you haven't had a look at it, Google AFL or type it into YouTube. And I wanted to know, how do athletes differ to that? Do athletes do more of what they suck at to get better, or do athletes just do what they're already good at? I was interested to hear that Nalesh says that they are actually a little bit different to average Joe. That with the guys that he works with, if they come to him with an issue and he assesses them and they've got an injury that's inhibiting their performance, that they're a lot more inclined to say, okay, right, you're telling me that I suck at this, I'm going to do it. What does that look like?
It's funny. Your players walk in, hey, this is what I've got, and you start looking at them like, oh, I'm doing this. I've been doing this for 6-8 weeks. I'm really good at it, like you just said. But I think the big difference here is that athletes take their time and go, cool, what now? What should I do? And how do I get there? Yeah. So example would be, most common we see is, hey, don't like squatting. I get knee pain. So I'll trap bar deadlift. Mm-hmm. And I can do 180 kilos on it. It's great. 6 reps, smash it out. Same thing for the past 8 weeks. But my knee pain's not getting any better. So obviously, the players here actually take their time out and go, hey, how do I get back to squatting? How do I get back to performance? And how do I get back to being, strong, mobile, and having full fitness in terms of playing? So I think the difference here is they buy in and buy into the process to getting them back there, and we take them there. And that being obviously, if they've got symptoms or pain when squatting and so forth that's stopping them, we bring in different layers of lifts that can get them back to what they should be doing rather than what they love doing. Hey man, 180 kilo trap bar deads. So I think that's the biggest difference there, and they buy into it because they understand, and it comes from an education piece and also them seeing a result. So
And I love what you said there that I want to highlight, which is you said they take the time to stop and say, hey, what do I need to get better at? How do I do this? And I think That's where so many people go wrong. It's that old Abraham Lincoln saying, right? If I had 5 hours to chop down a tree, I'd spend 4 hours sharpening my axe. And I think most people just don't put enough planning into their general health and fitness well-being beyond, I'm going to start running. I need to get fit. I'm going to start running. Or I need to get fit. I'm going to go to the gym, or whatever it is. People seem to gravitate towards whatever it is that, attracts them for whatever reason. There could be so many reasons. But I think that if people could take a lesson from that and say to themselves, have a look at themselves and say, wow, like I've been going to the gym for X amount of time and I'm so much stronger, but I've actually gotten less flexible. And people come to us saying, I could never get flexible. And we say, well, how much do you stretch? And they go, oh, never really. And I say, well,
I don't have time.
Yeah, but that's an interesting viewpoint, isn't it? I can't get flexible, but I don't stretch either. Like I thought it would just happen overnight if I just, think about it or whatever. Or someone would come in and say, I'm so weak, I don't know what the problem is. I never lift weights, I don't go to the gym, but, I don't know why I'm so weak either, It's a funny thing, isn't it? That's probably the first step. The first step is do more of the thing that you're not good at. But yeah, I loved hearing that because when you look at an athlete, I don't think people understand the level of planning and preparation that really goes into them being where they are, do they?
Well, they don't, because there is so much to it. And it's funny, they don't have to think. It's given to them like it is here. But there is a lot of planning and a nice linear progression to where they need to be. And it's a week-to-week change, and they see progress, and that's progress seen through, I can squat again, there's less pain, they're able to run again, and so forth. So there is a lot of planning in play, yeah.
And that is a powerful thing, again, that you just said there. They don't have to think. That is very powerful because when you look at an athlete, if you're in your position or the coach's position or the S&C, the strength and conditioning coach's position, you're looking at them objectively, right? Like you're looking at them and saying, okay, these are the areas where they're strong, these are the areas that they're weak, we're going to give them this. And if you're the athlete and at least you're smart and you're doing your job and you want to keep your contract, you do what you're told. Exactly. And you get better. Whereas a lot of other people that don't have a coach or don't have somebody doing that, they're looking at themselves subjectively and they're thinking they've got this emotional attachment to what they think there's this classic, the dude in the gym that keeps thinking that his chest isn't big enough, so he just keeps doing more bench, right? Or, the guns aren't big enough, so I'm doing more biceps. Yeah. But then you look at them objectively and you're like, oh my God, dude, you're so like hunched over. Like you need to stretch your chest and your biceps, not train them, and you need to strengthen all the muscles at the back that you can't see. I mean, that's a specific example, but it's one that you see a lot, right? Do you see many people like that being physio? I mean, I guess because you do mostly athletes, so you wouldn't see many average Joes like that, right?
See, not normally, but then you get your chronic cases. Chronic being, I've had this for a while, and you go, oh, how's your yeah, man, I keep getting hamstring strains. I'm new to the club. When I was in my last club, kept getting hamstring strains. And again, this is not a pot at anyone else or any health professional. Then you look at their strength measures and you're like, mate, you're so weak. Yep. Or what have you been doing? Oh, I've been doing Nordics because that apparently fixes everything. Yeah. But, you look at the big picture. Grail. And again, like I said, they step away and let us do the planning. So we look at the bigger picture and how do we fill those little stages up. But we do get that where there's a big difference. Again, hey mate, instead of doing heaps of this, you might need to add a bit of this, which would be a mobility sequence that actually gets you to able to squat, and a strength sequence which actually gets you to lift X amount of numbers. So your strength numbers go up, your Nordic numbers go up, and you're able to perform. And then obviously that translates onto the field for them, and which works perfectly for you guys as well here.
When I look at an AFL athlete, for me, when I like watch an AFL game and I look at the average person that's on the field, they look very proportionate to me. Their bodies look good. Like
they're drawn together really well, aren't they?
Yeah, they do, man. Like I can't comment on gridiron players because they've got all the gear on, and I don't see anything except a couple of highlights of gridiron, right? But if you compare it to like NRL players in Australia, they don't have that same look of balance to me. This is my personal opinion. They look like weapons. I'm not taking that away from them. But an AFL player,
It's changing a lot.
that's changing a lot. Yanni's saying, yeah, right, okay. So I don't watch enough. I don't.
NFL's players position specific, so
Okay.
guards will be.
No one can hear you, by the way, Yanni. We're on a podcast and you don't have a microphone. But Yanni's trying to chime in
I think
here and he's sitting at his desk.
What Yanni's saying is right. The style of the game in different sport is changing.
Yeah, really.
Fit, athletic,
Yeah, the
quick,
Commonwealth.
agile.
Yeah. Yeah.
Be the quick
There
guy.
is definitely a movement towards more balanced training with
100%
athletes,
there is,
isn't
yeah.
there? Yeah.
Yeah.
And people are starting to understand as well that to train for flexibility, it isn't this old hold a stretch for 2 minutes and just sit there in it and do 3 times on each side and you'll get better. It's about training strength through the ranges and training balance with the joint, agonist and antagonist muscles and movements. And yeah, a lot of the athletes that I'm seeing out there, they look far more capable nowadays than
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
than
100%.
they
And
used to.
it's the culture as well. Like I said, the
Yeah.
balanced culture.
Yeah.
Most of the boys that come into the program or our athletes are, yes, they can lift. The mobility's, above average, and they're fit, they're strong, they put it all together and making them an athlete. So, and they're the 3 little pillars that anyone else can do if they just follow a process.
Even some cricket players are starting to look pretty,
Yeah.
pretty buff these days, aren't they, mate?
Golf players.
Yeah, golf players. even.
Golf and strength is a new thing, by the
Yeah,
way.
yeah.
Golf
Yeah.
and strength's a new thing.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. So, so what kind of what kind of imbalances do you see most commonly in athletes, do you think? Like, is there even a commonality? Is there something that you look at, across your boys and go, man, they're all got imbalances in this area. They need more of this work or they need more of that work, or is it a case-by-case basis?
It is case by case, but if I look at a generalised comment here, mobility lacks in our players.
Yeah.
Because it's boring.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, man.
I'm not good at it, so I won't do it.
Mm.
But day by day goes, our strength program slowly transition to have a lower body lift with a upper body mobility sequence in it.
Really?
Yeah, those days are
They've
coming
been
back
watching
in.
our videos.
Yeah,
haven't
so
they?
they actually adds, and again, instead of it sitting there on your phone for 30, 40 seconds, you're doing a quick windmill, you're doing a quick lat stretch. So there is a gap in there, and that's being addressed even in the sporting end of things. Don't get me wrong, there's a lot of players pre-training, they spend 10, 15 minutes just doing mobility.
Yeah.
Because that's what gets them going into advantage or mechanic advantage positions to train and so forth. So that transition is coming, but yeah, they put it together very, very well.
Yeah, nice. How many coaches work on the programming for strength and flexibility? Is it just one coach or is there multiple?
So we've obviously got a lead,
Yeah.
but when it comes to practical application, when guys are in the gym and doing it, there's about 4 or 5 coaches there.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh, hey man, yes, you can't get deep, and they're like, oh, it's my hips, and then they do a little quick drill, and they're like, oh, actually, I can get, deeper. It's actually your thoracic, or it's actually a stability issue, it's a strength issue. So there are a lot of coaches that's there on being live and applying changes and modifications to help them better.
And how many people are doing custom programs versus just people that
Every
are doing
player will have
a customized program? Yeah.
Well, there's a not 100% of the whole squad will have a standard big rock program.
Yeah.
So example, you being a shoulder boy, you've had some shoulder issues. You'll have your accessory lifts with something more specified or customized to you,
Yeah,
some
right.
sort of reactive work or some extra upper body strength to make sure we bulletproof your shoulder and get you going again, or add some thoracic mobility and or some bicep curls as you need.
And that's all based on the assessments that you
Correct.
and the physios do,
Yeah, collectively.
and go, okay, the reason why this guy keeps pulling up with shoulder pain at the end of a game is because of X, Y, and Z, and
Yep.
they need to do these.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So we collectively work together
Yep.
really well, which we go, hey, they're great at bench press, blah, 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 but we might need to add some rows in, get some, posterior chain strength,
Yep.
and and that gets put in from a strength perspective, and that way it's like a one-stop shop, end-to-end service program for them.
Yeah, that's awesome because I think a lot of people, they don't really understand the value of being assessed by a good system or by a good coach like yourself. Like we do that with all of our members. Everybody goes through an assessment process every 6 to 12 weeks, and we figure out where their imbalances are, and then the program gets customized to them. But yeah, it's interesting to hear the way that it works for professional athletes. It's definitely in alignment with what I thought and what I'd hoped I'd hear, because I didn't know which direction this conversation was going to go when I said to you, hey, this is what we want to talk about today. What do you think? And so yeah, it's really, really cool. I definitely feel that where I've had the biggest leaps and bounds in my training is when I've put my faith in somebody that knows far more than me and followed their instructions blindly. Like, I've said, okay, I want to do this. I'm going to find a person that can do it. And whatever they tell me to do, I'm going to do it. Because I didn't do that in my early days. I would get taught something by somebody that was in that position, a position of authority, and I would question it in my mind, not to them, and say, I can do it. I'm going to do it this way. Even though I know I'm going to do it this way, I reckon I'll get there quicker. And I never got anywhere, really.
I think trusting the process is important.
Yeah.
A lot of people, I think, see the end result of a process and they go, okay, I want to get there. So they start doing the end result before even looking at how they got there.
Yep.
If they don't look at the different layers that PTs, physios, strength coaches provide in programming or advice or a periodization, they forget that and they go to the end result. That's why they get injured, from my point of view. And like Phil always highlights, what I say is it's not what you do, it's how you get there. It perfectly ties in there. So
absolutely. And so to tie this up, based on what the topic of today's show is, for me, I feel like what athletes can teach us about this is that people need to be planning better. There needs to be more planning in what people are going to be doing for the next 30 days, 90 days, a year. Thinking about what is it that I want to achieve? What do I need to change in my training? The next thing would be, I think that people need to trust coaches that know more than them, trust programming. If you go to see a great physio like Nalesh, and he says, I mean, I've been working with Nalesh now for, what do you reckon, about 4 months? Because it was last year, wasn't it?
December, we kicked off. December, so it's been 4 months.
And the stuff that he's been giving me, there's things in there that I've never done before. There's pairings of exercises that I haven't thought of before. There's things that have made me raise my eyebrows where I've gone, oh, wow, really, I'm doing that. But I didn't question it. Some of the things I questioned, but more so like, how does that work? Does that get that muscle or whatever? And I've had amazing results from it. So, yeah, get out there, guys. If you're feeling like, if you're the person that goes to the gym all the time and never stretches, find someone that can teach you how to stretch. If you're the runner that is, aches and pains in the shoulders all the time because you've got no muscle, find somebody that can teach you how to do some good strength training. And anybody that's suffering from injury that's been told by a good physio that this is what you need to do it, do that.
Yep, 100%.
And if you want to connect with Nalesh or Phil, go to adpt.physio. Those guys are amazing. I can personally vouch for them both. They've both helped me through some really, really nasty injuries. And before we finish up, let's have a quick. We'll see what some of our tribe that are tuning in live have said here. Vinnie Browns said, in the at-home workouts, Yanni is always saying it's time to find out who the athlete in the room is. At 5 a.m. in my basement, I always figured that was me. You're probably right, Vinny. Vinny's also saying in Taekwondo training, it's so hard to work on what really needs attention. That means putting extra time into the weak leg or putting some humbling work into the particular technique. I couldn't agree with that more, man, because in martial arts in general, I've found that there's never enough time to get everything done. And when your teacher's saying you've got to do 30 minutes a day of footwork and you've got to do 40 minutes a day of forms and you've got to do 30 minutes a day of stretching, you've got to do 20 minutes a day of punching and you've got to do 30 minutes a day of kicking, and then you're like, well, that's like 3 hours work every day, and then you've got to do this and that and blah, blah, blah. And it's really, really hard to find the time to then do, okay, well, this is what's weak. I'm going to, focus on that. So I can relate to that, man.
Stephen's asked a question, do you do stuff more to prevent injuries due to imbalances or to increase performance?
Yeah, this is for you, Nalesh.
Yeah, both.
Yeah.
Ultimately, our job as in a sporting realm is to prevent injuries and make sure our athletes perform. So both, and that ties in very well into our profession being a physio. We want our clients to not come see us and be able to lift and go through lifting and do what they love doing. So.
Yep. Yeah, nice. Thanks, guys. Thanks for tuning in. We've got to wrap up now and head on over to the UMS online coaching tribe, where we provide our daily coaching calls for our athletes over there. If you're not part of that group already, what are you doing? Grab yourself a 1-month free trial by clicking the link in the description of this podcast or YouTube video, depending on where you're consuming the content. And yeah, if you've got any questions for Nalesh or Phil, you can post them in the UMS Movement Mastermind Facebook group, where they can give general advice on these shows. And if you want some more specific advice, if you want to be assessed by the boys, you can do that online even. You don't even need to be in North Sydney. Go to adpt.physio. And we will see you all tomorrow.
See you guys.